Hello, today we'll discuss natural language processing for literature mining. Welcome listeners to today's episode on natural language processing for literature mining. I'm Sukant, Dr. Sukant Khurana, and I'm joined by Bikram, an innovative researcher in computational biology. Bikram, thanks for being here.
Thrilled to be here, Dr. Sukant. This topic is very exciting.
Let's dive in. Literature mining, sifting through millions of scientific papers, is a massive challenge in drug discovery. How is natural language processing or NLP transforming this process?
I will say NLP is a total game changer. It's like giving researchers a super smart librarian who reads everything instantly. So models like BERT or GPT can extract insights from PubMed, preprints, and even patents way faster than humans. I came across a project where they used NLP to mine papers for drug protein interactions. It pulled out 10,000 relevant association in hours, cutting down weeks of manual work, and that's a huge win.
Well, it's slightly more than weeks. Did some project when I was in Lucknow manually
Hmm.
for patents of plants.
Hmm.
Obviously, it was citizen science, so wasn't as effective if it were a graduate student. There were
Hmm.
three postdocs from outside who were collaborating, and there were around 16, 17 people, out of which really five, six were working. It took us 3 months to go through every single plant patent.
Hmm.
If I ask now, even standard, not just even uh, NLP algorithms, we have some custom ones, there are libraries. There are examples like in Python, there are standard ones
All
for
right.
this, right?
Hmm.
We've used quite a few ourselves. We have our favorites. I'll keep the favorites for some other day. But even if you use generative AI and say that analyze this database, right? Count me how many
Hmm.
are from China. With good accuracy, not perfection, you need to verify certain things. That's a
Hmm.
matter of minutes that you can go through the patent database because now most of generative AI is connected to internet. Earlier, ChatGPT used to have outdated information, right? Last when the model
Hmm.
was trained. Now you
Right.
can have deep search in everyone. So you say here
Hmm.
is a patent database, and then what you can do, because every time we were doing manually, and we were running some NLP algorithms also later on because I realized there were mistakes. So I did some
Hmm.
coding myself, and what like we used things like Beautiful Soup, um, and there are even other things for mining, right? So, but what happened is when we were mining and when we were analyzing, we had to see
Hmm.
how many are actually being used. And use
Right.
is also tricky because a company might patent for prestige and put
Hmm.
the patent on a product, but may not even be directly making that thing. It may be
Hmm.
supported by. So, how much is the real user patent? And turns out, obviously, that in India, most of the patents were academic patents for promotion, where the ratio of patent versus actual product use was close to zero.
Hmm.
When I say zero, obviously, it was very small in percentage, wasn't zero. So we were looking at this segment what, but it was months of work
Hmm.
and with errors, and then I had left Lucknow, other things happened. I never published that. But now I can envisage completing that whole project, including some writing work in less than a month.
Okay.
An actual mining operation can be done with multiple complex steps, not just the limited thing that we did
Hmm.
in matter of few days. And if we were to even take the next step of agentic AI, that
Hmm.
human being is not involved, then all the actual data stuff can be done in hours. So
Right.
AI has moved very, very fast. But yeah, hours instead of weeks is incredible. There's so
Hmm.
much text out there. How does NLP zero in what's relevant? Give me your perspective.
Uh, First of all, I'm completely coherent with your story, right? So it's all about context and semantics. Modern NLP models are trained to understand scientific language. Think named entity recognition for genes, proteins, or compounds. They also use techniques like topic modeling to cluster papers by relevance.
That's powerful. Text data can be messy, though, jargon, acronyms, paywalls. How do you handle those challenges?
Oh, it's a jungle. Scientific papers are full of quirks, non-standard abbreviations, dense prose, and yeah, paywalls limit access to full text. We get around it open access repos like BioR Ziv and lots of pre-processing, normalizing terms, resolving synonyms.
Pre-processing sounds critical. In my own experience, we did something within the limited context of alcoholism in India while taking a lot of data of alcoholism and accidents from Canada
Mhm.
and US because in India there wasn't much data. So I think that pre-processing, transfer learning, something we've applied. So I can relate to what you're saying. Let's think of another issue. How do you ensure insights from NLP are trustworthy, especially for high stakes research?
Right. So in this case, trust is everything. You don't want to chase false leads. Explainable NLP helps like attention mechanics that highlight the sentence or phrases drove a model's output. Says it flags a drug target link. You can see it. It is because of a specific clinical trial mention. I'm also big on hybrid approaches, combining NLP with knowledge graphs.
Graphs add a nice layer. It is computationally intensive to process all that text. What's your take?
Yeah, it can be a beast, especially with large language models. But cloud computing and optimized libraries like Hugging Face makes it doable. Hardware is not the bottleneck that it used to be.
Yeah, several things. The problem with Hugging Face is I agree with what you're saying. I'm just adding again a nuance. The problem with things like Hugging Face is essentially what you've had with multiple platforms. I don't want to pull them down, where
Hmm.
people will upload either their libraries, standard every engineering student does, or
Right.
they'll upload their data sets, and everyone uses some standard data sets for competitions.
Hmm.
So 90 to 99% is good, but not great stuff. I mean, it takes people like you or me who are in the field to pull the right thing. So it's actually another case, an important nuance to make that
Mm.
you have all these things, but you need human expertise at the
Right.
moment to make a judgment of what is good or not. Simply saying that let's connect, and that's an experience that I have trained thousands of people in citizen science. We stopped counting around 13,400. Those engineers come and go. Some are, when I say training, some can be even as big as 10, 15 days, learn a small thing like, data extraction. Some can be even more complex work than doing proper training of a model. Some can actually build a model from scratch, and that's very few. But
Right.
we have so many people who come and go. What I realize, even with best people, rather than what exceptions, because most of my experience has been people not from BSc, but from B.Tech and tech background in India after
Hmm.
returning to India. I'd done citizen science in the US, but that was all around wet work. I didn't. The computational work was done with friends, or I did myself, whether it's
Hmm.
PhD, early postdocs, and all that. Um, not engineers. So the challenge was that they will execute something. They'll say, okay, this is a library. And I got this data set and ran it. It took so much pain to tell them this data set is not clean and what you need to do. So that's domain knowledge, right?
Hmm.
Which
Right.
even AI doesn't have that much. Engineers even have less. So you can have people who can do right things, but you have to impart, have domain knowledge and impart certain things that take this, don't reject it outright, but take it with pinch of salt. Uh, Look at aspects of it. Some of it may be good. Take it, but
Right.
there may be exceptions. So telling them sort of graded value judgment.
Hmm.
That is what. So I mean, there are other reasons also. I have over 300 incomplete projects. Not sure even most of them are worth it given my current priorities to complete. Some of them
Hmm.
definitely are. They'll make a huge impact. Like I have things on alcoholism and all. You and I have been involved in that discussion. Whether
Right.
it's alcoholism, cannabis, depression, a lot of data sets which are
Hmm.
worth pursuing, and a lot of projects worth pursuing. There are others which are initial stage. So what happened is I realized that to me what is very easy is linking across disciplines, whether it's mathematics, computational biology, chemistry, informatics, drug discovery, healthcare. basic neuroscience. That comes easy because I've never followed the discipline. In fact, uh, call me an idiot. I've always done something different than the lab was doing. So
Hmm.
I went to a master's lab at NCBS. It was working on adult flies for sense of smell. I never
Hmm.
learned how to work with adult flies. Somehow I didn't like them. I was happy doing learning and which the lab wasn't working on with larvae and trained at various things and then did some interesting work which made me temporarily one of the favorites of Obey and then went for PhD where I even in lab rotations I ended up doing different than what students were doing. And
Hmm.
then in the main PhD lab, several projects weren't really published because PhD was not really, he thought I'll assert him and I had a lot of other problems. But whatever was even published, let's even talk of the two papers that I published, involved two collaborators, one from Northwest and one from NYU. Separate collaborations. One went in cell biology direction, other went
Hmm.
in mathematics. The lab worked on sub-millisecond to a microsecond time computation. I went
Okay.
on seconds to minutes regulation of gain in those neurons, slow
Hmm.
functioning of the fastest neurons, and even found out some other things on serotonin and all, and then worked on like various things on gestation in flies, alcoholism in flies, learning and memory in flies again with a different perspective, basic alcoholism, and then AI and drug discovery in a lab, which was working on learning and memory. And that turned out to be a bad deal in Cold Spring Harbor because the boss thought he's saying yes simply to get me in. And then he forced me to work on something which I refused. And there was other politics in that phase. Coming to India, I even picked up things from my bachelor that I'm a microbiologist, also let me do things. In fact, my highest cited papers are that. So I have not thought of disciplines as boundaries, but in India, even at scientist level, PhD postdoc, disciplines are very hard boundaries. They
Hmm.
are in US, but not with everyone. Most academics aren't very smart. Smarter people are going to industry rather than staying in academia. But in India, it's relatively even, it's a leftover lot. The smart ones are in US. Second
Hmm.
thing, at student level, I found that people are going to these libraries now. They're using Hugging Face and all, or they'll pick some data set from GitHub without realizing it's some other student like them who might have uploaded it, right?
Right.
So, so the value judgment wasn't there. So they knew techniques, but didn't know how to apply them smartly. Sorry, it sort of went on a rant, but I think it's probably valuable for our listeners to understand AI is as good as the hands it is in. If the
Right.
scientist isn't good, the outcome will be bad. If the data is bad, obviously it's garbage in, garbage out. But anyway, good to know sort of what you mentioned about Hugging Face.
Hmm.
Let's take the conversation to a different place. Where is NLP making unique impact? Maybe a specific area of drug discovery that you'd like to discuss.
Right. So I think adverse event detection is a big one. Digging through case reports or trial data for side effect is tedious, but NLP is a rock star here too. So I saw a study where they used a RoBERTa model to mine literature for rare drug toxicities. It caught signals missed by manual reviews, like a weird cardiac side effect tied to an old antiviral. So that kind of insight can save trials from crashing late stage.
Critical for safety. What's the next big leap you see for NLP and literature mining?
I am hyped about real time mining. Imagine NLP scanning new preprints or trial registries as they drop, feeding insights to researchers instantly. We're already seeing multimodal models that blend text with images, like parsing figures in papers. Plus, federated NLP could get global teams mine literature collaboratively without sharing proprietary data. It's going to make knowledge discovery way more dynamic.
That's very exciting. I'd like to point out something you and I have discussed repeatedly that over reliance on any aspect of AI is bad. So uh,
Right.
I I think we know each other well. You'll probably tell me not to do so. It's just a comment from my side that some of the hot
Mhm.
papers can be problematic
Right.
because media picks up and top journals like things which are within quote sexy. No one likes bland report. No one likes a negative result. That's a very big problem of life sciences. And that's why if the data set is skewed and there is a dumb impact factor citation metric rather than knowledge metric, that is negatively impacting healthcare. In fact, too many publications are actually causing harm to human health because it makes drug discovery, understanding mechanisms poorer because flashy stuff gets published, and it will extract things without knowing that this is bullshit, right?
Right.
So that again points to human expertise.
Mhm.
But let's have your final thoughts on NLP for literature mining.
I feel like what you said, we can never underestimate human intelligence, even if we are going into an era or are currently living in that era, but human intelligence can never be neglected. So it is definitely a pitfall. NLP is awesome, but it can't replace a scientist's gut. I've seen cases where models flagged hot papers that are overhyped or shaky. Like one time, our model loved a study, but it had flawed methods, and only human review caught it. So the trick is using NLP as a co-pilot. It surfaces leads, experts vet them, then you loop back to refine the model, and that keeps the balance going.
Well put. So, what are your final thoughts on NLP for literature mining?
I will say it's unlocking a gold mine of knowledge, faster, deeper insight that could spark the next big breakthrough. I'm just pumped to keep tweaking these models to help science move forward.
Fantastic perspective, Vikram. Thanks for the insights. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Until next time.